is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
Let's go.
It is Monday, August 16th, 2021, season 17, episode number 9. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. I'm joined by Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman. We're talking some Cowboys football with you guys for the next 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how these guys go. We got a lot of topics, but what? Are y'all just amused because there's a camera? I mean, because there's a video?
Nick loves looking at the monitor, but also I look even shorter than normal today.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The chair's so low.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning before.
Dave just doesn't care right now. It's like, whatever.
He doesn't care. You should be showing off the haircut. You got the fresh haircut coming back.
Put me on the little, the front. Yeah,
There you go.
I cleaned it up.
We can barely see you, though.
I know. I mean, people don't. This is not a face for TV. Like, they put me on TV because I'm here, but let's be honest. So, all right, this works out.
I think it looks good. You got a good haircut. It looks good on you. Let's jump in. Let's talk about this game. Cowboys lose to the Arizona Cardinals 19-16. Preseason game, so wins and losses really don't matter. But what does matter is how the team played. And before we get to how the team played, I think what matters most is how healthy are you once the game is done. Let's start with Neville Gallimore. Tell me where he is. What's going on with his injury, and what are we expecting as far as time frame?
Honestly, for what it looked like, it's probably a best case scenario for Neville Gallimore. I mean, just the amount of pain that he was in, and the way that the length of time it took him to get off the field looked really bad. I mean, it is bad. He hyperextended his elbow, but you could have convinced me he was done for the year based on what it looked like, and it sounds more like a 6-8 week type of deal. I think he'll start the season on IR if I had to guess, but he's got a chance to come back in the first half of the season, which is good news considering how bad it looked.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think if you didn't watch the game and you just saw the headline of an article we had about encouraging, it's like encouraging timetable because based off of what it looked like. Now, I did see some of the comments on there like that's not that encouraging because he's out for probably 2 months. But like Dave's saying, it could have been, and it looked like it could have been worse. I mean, best case scenario, maybe 6 weeks. So if you think, we're 3 weeks away from the season starting, probably 3 games would be best case scenario. 4 or 5 games is worse. But they have to make the decision on, do they want to put him on the IR to return? And that'll just, they'll get to make that decision when we get closer, when we get on cut day.
Real quick, just explain to people the IR rules because they changed last year, and now they're going to continue with what they had last year due to COVID.
Hopefully, it's a permanent change.
3 weeks?
3, yes. So you're out for 3 weeks. You can come back, and there's no limit on the number of guys they can do that with.
Right.
Which I never understood why you have to punish a team for a guy getting hurt. Like if a guy's out, you used to get 2 guys that you could bring back, and it was 8 weeks. So, if a guy's got a month-long injury, you basically have to shut down his season, even though you don't really need to. I always hated that.
Well, there's a guy, up in the Northeast that bends the rules a lot, and
Sure.
so but a lot of coaches, a lot of teams that's what they would do. They would end up stashing players and say that they're hurt.
Yeah, and he wouldn't be the only one. There
right?
would be,
No, there's a lot of teams,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, are you hurt? No, I'm okay. Then you drop a weight on his foot, and his foot's hurt, and he's out, and he's on IR.
Or you don't even drop it. You just kind of act like you dropped it. Yeah.
So. They're trying to make sure and police that, but I agree that there's got to be a better middle ground, and I think we're finding it here. Now, the one thing about that is that you have to be on the roster week 1. That's the one thing here. So,
not week 1, day 1.
Day 1. I'm sorry, day 1.
You don't have to be there for the first game, but you do have to be on the roster for 24 hours, which. Yeah. I mean, we saw it last year. It's going to be a thing that they do again this year. They're going to get creative with it. CJ Goodwin was the guy last year. Could be him again. They're gonna, vested veterans. If you've played 4 seasons in the league, you're not subject to the waiver wire. You're not subject to that stuff. So you could see a CJ Goodwin or maybe a J-Ron Curse,
Garrett Gilbert.
There's
somebody like that they cut.
Any number of guys that you can cut and say stick by your sure. Anybody that's been in the league 4 years or longer. I mean. Well, no, they couldn't do it to Dak because of his contract. That's a terrible idea. I was trying to use it as an example, but anybody that's been in the league for 4 years or longer, you say, this is procedural. Go chill at home for a day. We'll call you. We got to move some guys. And, it's...
They cut Kennedy?
Yeah, they cut Maurice Kennedy.
All right.
Because he's been in the league for 5 years.
Yeah.
So that stuff's going to happen. I would guess Neville goes to IR when the season starts, especially, again, when you got this logjam of young players. Obviously, you would prefer him to be healthy, but this helps you make room for some of those types of guys. A Tristan Hill could be moved to PUP. I got to figure out what's up with Chauncey Golston. People keep asking me about him.
Yeah.
We're into the point of camp now where I feel like
wasn't it a hamstring?
Yeah.
Let's go.
There are degrees of hamstring.
Let's go. That's simple. Let's go.
Let's go.
There are degrees of hamstring. Jordan Lewis missed 10 days with one. Chauncey.
Trust me, I covered Miles Austin. I understand.
Sure. Francis Bernard is another one. He hurt his hamstring on the first day of camp and hasn't come close to practicing since.
That's true.
But those are guys, again, Chauncey could wind up on PUP to start the season. We'll have to see. Anyway. A lot of procedural stuff. But like I said, Neville was screaming on the field on Friday. I was like, this looks awful. Yeah. And so 4 to 8 weeks after that, I call that good news.
Let's look at tight end as well. Tight end is starting to be a position. Is that on your list?
I'm going to get to that. It's on the rundown. I'm going to get to that right after this. But before we get there.
That's why I went there.
Before we get there, though, I did want to ask you guys about the defensive tackle position because when you just look at the depth of it, and Dave, you kind of started getting into it, but in my opinion, watching throughout training camp, there was only one defensive tackle position or player that I felt like he is on the roster. He will be a guy that's going to be a regular rotation guy. There were a lot of guys doing a lot of different things, but Neville Gallimore always was working the first team. He was always out there. What does this mean for the defensive tackle position now that he will be out presumably at least 3 weeks, maybe some more?
It's probably it helps Carlos Watkins, even though he was playing pretty well anyway. I mean, him and Urban, we were wondering how it was going to shake out, and it's kind of shaking itself out here now. Temporarily. Now, after 4 or 5 weeks of the season, we'll see. But then who knows if someone else doesn't get banged up? So I would think week 1, of regular season, you're looking at inside. You're looking at Watkins, Urban. Odigizua, help me here. Am I missing another tackle?
Not a 3 technique. That's you got Quentin Bohanna, you got Justin Hamilton. But that's the interesting thing for me is, and that's why I think right now this is an incredible opportunity for Osa because they drafted him to play 3 technique. That's what they want him to focus on right now. And everybody's versatile. Watkins can do a little bit of everything, but Neville was going to start as your 3 technique in your 4-man front, and Osa's really the only guy that specializes in that right now. And so, I think he's probably the next man up to start. I think they're going to keep their eyes peeled. This is where your pro personnel comes into play. We ran into our old buddy Walter Juliff on Friday night, the longtime scout. Teams send scouts to every game in the league for this reason, is to look and say, okay, is there a pass rushing defensive tackle on any of these teams that might not have a future here that we can take a look at? I know people are going to bring up Geno Atkins. He's still available. I don't. Why you raise your eyebrows at me like that?
From the reports, it doesn't sound like he's like a guy you necessarily want to go out and rely on. I mean, it sounds like his injury history it doesn't seem promising.
And I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah. I think they're going to look at Neville's situation and say, we'll have him back in October. We've got some young guys we like. If there's a guy we can claim or a guy we can do a minor trade for when cuts come, we've seen him do stuff like that before. That's what I would expect to happen. I do think they'll try to add to it, but not in some crazy, splashy way.
Right. All right, let's move on. Nick, you kind of preempted it. We do need to talk about the tight end position. And actually, let's go ahead and jump into that because I want to get to Randy Gregory, but let's start with tight end since you brought that one up. Sean Mcewen gets hurt in the game. He was a guy that I think we all agree had pretty much played himself onto this roster. What does this mean now for the tight end position? I guess first tell me what his injury is and how long, what his status looks like, and then let's talk about what it means for the position.
I think it's a high ankle sprain, and high ankle sprains can obviously vary. I've seen guys out 6 weeks. I've seen a guy come back and play on Thanksgiving short week. So, where does he fall in there? Probably 3 to 4 weeks or so, which is another situation of we'll see if he's an IR to return on the roster on the first day. But they're still gonna limit Blake Jarwin. He played some. They're not going to just rush him back there, even though Dalton Schultz is banged up with an ankle injury. I don't think it's that serious though for Dalton Schultz.
Right.
So Sprinkles, the only healthy really veteran tight end there, and then you got 2 other guys. I don't even know their names.
Nick Eubanks and Martavius
Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited about Eubanks coming in. He's got deceptive athleticism, but haven't seen a ton from either of those guys, really. You're so far down the depth chart at that point. I wonder, which, you always try to glean things from what you get to see. Mcewen was in a boot and had crutches on Friday night, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's kind of like Dak having an MRI. It's like, well, yeah, like you have access to this stuff. It doesn't cost you any money. Why not? Why do you want a 250-pound guy putting weight on his leg if he doesn't have to? So that doesn't necessarily mean that he's out forever. And that's going to be an interesting one because if you're 3 weeks from the start of the season, so you could probably get away with just carrying him on your 53 for a week or two, but you might have to, maybe Jeremy Sprinkle makes the team now when he probably wouldn't have before.
So now you're just carrying 4 when maybe you were thinking you could carry 3.
Sure. Mcewen was going to make – he's had a good camp as a tight end, but special teams is a big part of that too. He played a lot last year. And it's funny how – it's ironic the way all of these things tend to tie together because Shewo Olanalua also hurt – probably not going to be ready for the start of the season to hear it from Mike McCarthy. So now all these big body guys that can do a lot of stuff on special teams, you're losing them. And so they're going to have to find a way to get creative with that.
Kellen Moore was asked that question, and he said there's a lot of ways to do that, whether it be 4 tight ends, whether it be a fullback, an extra running back. He even said an extra wide receiver or a wide receiver that can do some of those roles. And I don't think he's great at it, but Noah Brown has done it in the past, and he's kind of got that big body to do that. That's not his forte. And then he kind of gets into, you get into a role that he's not as comfortable with. So, but I think if they needed to do some things on game day, Noah Brown could be one of them. It feels like you're going to probably keep 6 receivers here, I would think.
Yeah.
Still early. We still have 2 games to play in the preseason, but I just can't see them cutting any of those 3 backups. I think it's 3 and then 3, and then after that, I don't know. But the 3 guys, Malik Turner, Noah Brown, and Cedric Wilson.
Well, that's – sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm fascinated by that because I was talking about this before the game on Friday. Yeah, Cedric and Noah should make the team. Like, I know the front office wants to save money. Look somewhere else. They're not that expensive. And they're versatile.
And they're clearly the best players compared to those
They're clearly
other guys
much better than the other guys. I know people were saying Noah had a drop at the beginning of that game. I didn't think that was a drop. He could have caught it, but it was a well-played ball by the DB, in my opinion. Like Michael Gallup dropped it. Noah Brown. I don't consider that a drop. Anyway, I think they're a lot better than everybody else. They've been working with Dak for 3-4 years at this point. So if they need to play, they have that rapport with him. And the special teams, obviously, that just doesn't make sense to me. But the thing I wonder about is Malik Turner and Simi Fehoko. Like, how important is your draft pick versus how valuable? Malik Turner can do a lot of stuff. I'm not convinced Simi can. But he's the draft pick, and he's got the very interesting intangibles.
I'd just go take my chances on the practice squad with him.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, doesn't work.
And my bet is there's probably the vast majority of teams out there have a Simi Fehoko. Like, they have somebody at their camp where it's like, we think we can get him to the practice squad. We're not really sure. I think those guys tend to be available to you.
This will be my 9th round of roster cuts, and I can't, everybody brings up Danny Amendola. Like, in the time that I've covered the team, I can't think of a guy that they cut who got away from him.
Yeah.
Not like somebody that everybody was like, oh my God, no, not him.
And Amendola, people forget that Amendola actually made it through a whole season. He was on the practice squad the entire rookie season.
Yeah.
And then the Eagles, when they made the playoffs and the Cowboys didn't, the Eagles just tried to sign him to their, thinking they could make him to their practice squad since they were still playing, and it didn't work out. But he still went and signed with someone else. But I mean, it's not like he wasn't even claimed right away.
Yeah.
And he was a Hard Knocks feature and all that stuff like that. So it happens, but not much.
Rondell Carter got claimed, but like the Colts signed him, but that was a month into the season. He wound up back here a month later. Blake Jarwin tried to leave, but even that was like October. They convinced him to stay. It's a lot more rare than people think that a guy gets claimed off your initial cuts, in my experience, at least.
Yep. Real quick, you mentioned Malik Turner. He did also have an injury as well. What's his status?
Turf toe.
Turf.
That's what they're calling it. I don't have a timeline. Talked to our buddy Brian Broaddus about this, and I mean, it's a sad reality. Like, injuries can differ based on how much work you need to do to make the team. So I mean, if that's maybe he doesn't go today, but if that's a thing that you can grind through and still be available, that's kind of the reality of being at the bottom of the depth chart.
It may not feel good.
One of the most
injure you for later, but
that's one of the most underrated injuries. Seriously.
Oh, the pain of it?
Oh, you think that it's not a big deal. You got 9 more.
It is a very not serious sounding injury.
Yeah,
like maybe we need to give it a more serious
it's
name.
like you stubbed your toe, but in reality, when you're, especially as anybody that's trying to run and cut and do all that, like it's,
you realize how much you use that.
Well, I mean, turf toe changed the whole season for the Cowboys back in '98. Deion Sanders, they were rolling, and then Deion gets hurt with the turf toe, and they weren't the same after that. So that really affected them. I've seen that injury really affect the whole team.
It was turf toe that Patrick Mahomes had in the home stretch of last year, right? And I mean, he obviously played through it, but he needed surgery when the season was over. So, but when you're the 7th receiver, 6th receiver on the team, so we'll see how long he's out. But that just might be a situation where you got to grind through it. We'll see.
All right, real quick, let's talk about Ty Seki. He also at one point left the game. I think he came back, but just wanted to make sure he's okay.
I think that might, and I don't know this for sure. I haven't heard anything firm about him, but he did walk off the field, and literally 3 days prior to the game, he had the same thing happen where he got tangled up, left, kind of walked it off for 10 or 15 minutes and then was fine later. And I mean, he's like 36 years old. It just might be a reality of playing offensive tackle when you've got that much mileage on your knees.
I don't know what's going to happen at that tackle position.
That is a tough one.
Yeah.
Honestly, to me it's the offensive line, because you look at that's the backup at the tackles. The interior offensive line, like, who knows how they're going to. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the show too. But make your point.
I have no idea. No, I'm just saying I have no idea what's going on with. I don't really know what they're trying to do at center. Not really sure what's going on at swing tackle. I mean, they would love if Terrence Steele could just do it, but I don't know if they think he can.
Yeah,
and I don't think they are 100% confident in Seki. And then you got your, does Martin, is he the swing tackle there? I mean, it's just,
I'm starting to think he should be. And I think it was one of our last shows in Oxnard where I was like, I'd rather keep Zach at guard if I can, but
yeah. But if you do that
at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah. If that is the option, then I don't know why Seki would be here.
Well, I think it's two different things. I think if you're in a game and you lose a tackle, then I would like Seki or Steele to be able to just step in and play the rest of that game. If you lose a tackle for an extended period of time, I don't think you even mess around with it. You say, Zach Martin, get on out there to tackle and be ready to play this weekend at tackle and play it for the next few weeks until we get our guy back.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I look at it.
I think I would be the opposite, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would rather the Zach kick out in the middle of the game.
Well, here's the reason why I look at it like that. A team isn't going to necessarily game plan for Steele or Seki during the middle of a game. If they got a week and they're like, oh, that's going to be their starting tackle, I think there's going to be all kinds of problems, because I don't think they're as good of players, obviously. And I think that if you give a team a week to realize what kind of player they are and how you can get them, I think they're going to get them a lot. So, in the game, I think you can probably manage. You can probably get by. when you got a week, give me my best guy to slide out to tackle because I want them to have to think about the fact he's going to be out there.
I don't think it takes that long to realize if Tyron Smith's not out there and it's Terrence Steele now we're going to move this guy to this side and he's going to rush off the edge. And I don't think there's needs a lot of game planning involved. It's like we're going to blitz on that side now. We weren't going to do that at all, but now we are because
but the thing is that defensive end didn't spend all week watching film of Terrence Steele to be able to beat Terrence Steele. He watched a week of film of Tyron Smith.
Does he need it?
He may not, but I'm saying he has imagine what happens when he does have a week of watching Terrence Steele to prepare to play Terrence Steele.
Saw that.
It's different.
Yeah.
We saw that, right? So I think that's the way I look at it. I think that's why I want one of those guys to at least be manageable to get me through the end of the game. And then I'll adapt and say, give me my best guy out there to protect my quarterback.
29 of the 32 teams in the league think this, but no, the depth on the offensive line is worrisome. And the Connor Williams center experiment thing makes me real nervous now. That was first game, bad snaps. You're like, yeah, it's his first game ever. 2 more bad snaps in the second game, and it reminds me of my college career, just trying to cram for a test the night before. It's like, why did you wait until July 23rd to try this? Why weren't we doing it before?
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the offensive line, and particularly that interior part of the offensive line, and get your opinions on what they're doing at center right now. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about the quarterback, Dak Prescott. We're going to find out where he is right now in his recovery and what you can expect from him over the next couple weeks heading into the season. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
Dallas Cowboys training camp presented by American Airlines is back at the Star in Frisco. Watch Cowboys practice on August 16th. That's tonight. Also on August 20th, 27th, and 28th inside Ford Center at the Star. Admission and parking are free. Visit thestarinfrisco.com for details.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Nick just mentioned it, but if you get a chance, come out tonight. Cowboys have Cowboys Night. It is a very special event. If you can come out, if you have an opportunity to come out, it's a chance to see the Cowboys live and in person at Ford Center at the Star. Practice will start at 6 o'clock, but if you're coming out, you can enter the building, I think, around 4 p.m., get a chance to come out and see all your favorite players, and that'll last from 6 to 8. If you're not in town, you'll also be able to watch it on our Cowboys Now app, which is our connected TV app. You'll also be able to watch it on our website as well as our our mobile app, Cowboys Now. Cowboys Mobile.
A lot of people in the booth for that. I mean, we're gonna rotate like we did for the Rams game.
How are we doing it?
Well, Drew Pearson will be in there to start with. So good luck following him. But
speaking of Drew Pearson, do you want to give a little shout out to?
He made it to the Hall of Fame.
That's not what I was going to talk about.
I didn't think so.
It was a really, really well done
documentary
on Drew Pearson. Alex Lilly, Kurt Daniels did a phenomenal job putting that thing together.
Let me tell you about that. And I feel like, without sounding terrible here, but I feel like I know quite a bit of the Cowboys history. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you do. Absolutely.
I don't like saying it, but I know my share. And I watched that, and I know the Hail Mary and all that, and that's not a flag; it's an orange, and it's a push off, and he pumps Krause over here and throws it. I learned more about that game and that play in Drew Pearson's life than I ever knew. And I'm not saying that I was like, I know it all, but I thought I knew a lot of it. And I was very impressed with all the stuff that they got in there. I thought it was very well done. So shout out to Kurt Daniels and Alex Lilly and that whole team that we have there. But it was really those two guys that did a great job with it.
Yeah. They absolutely crushed it. And coming up next, we don't sleep on it.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, coming up next, we got Darren Woodson story. That'll be coming out this Saturday night or Saturday evening. Or is it Friday?
Saturday night.
Saturday night it'll be coming out, and it'll be on the normal channels where you can watch all those other things that I mentioned earlier, where you can watch the practice tonight. But again, check those out. Deep Blue documentaries. We'll be running 4 throughout the preseason this year. Some really, really good storytelling. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. We wanted to talk about Dak Prescott. Coming out of camp, he had been injured. He mentioned there before we left camp that he was going to have he thought he was progressing really well. He was going to have an MRI when he got back to Dallas just to make sure everything's progressing well. What did they find when they did the MRI?
Least surprising thing ever is they said he was going to have it today. And I don't know this for sure, but I know Dak decently well by this point. I just feel like he woke up Saturday and was like, why are we waiting? Like, isn't it a machine?
Doc,
it's a machine right over there, right?
There. Yeah.
So it sounds like McCarthy's that way too. Watching that one episode of Hard Knocks,
it's he's like, let's go. Let's get started on this.
Yeah. If this is going to affect me and my team again, let's find out now.
Right.
Get your ass in there.
The indication is that it won't. He had the MRI. It sounds like everything's good. He's healing up. There's no additional damage from these throwing sessions, so it just sounds like he's going to continue on his path. I don't think he's going to get out there tonight and rip 50 balls, but he should do a little bit more. And I don't think anybody knows if he'll actually play on Saturday right now, but I bet that's the goal. Is to see how he handles some work, see if he can ramp himself up in these practices this week, and try to get him, 6 to 10 snaps on Saturday night if that's feasible. Not, again, like they don't know right now because you got to see how he handles this. You're not going to throw him out there if it doesn't seem right, but I bet that they would like to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously we don't know if he'll play this Saturday, but my suspicion is, and I'll let you guys speak for yourselves, my suspicion is you guys feel pretty good that he will be there come Thursday, September 9th, when the Cowboys travel to Tampa Bay.
Always have.
Yes. I feel like that's been the goal, and that's the only. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the only goal, but it's the main goal. And if they can get in a couple snaps in preseason, fine. But they'll be fine without it.
I'd just like to reiterate my position. As long as we're doing this, somebody like they had that rash of injuries. Like 4 guys got hurt in 20 minutes on Friday night, and somebody on Twitter was like, "Are we sure we want Dak to play in the preseason?" I was like, "Absolutely the hell not! No, we don't. Yeah. I mean, the coaches might and Dak might, but if snap 1 against Shaquille Barrett and Ndamukong Suh if that's the first snap of his season, that's A-okay with me as long as he's ready for it.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned from Hard Knocks. Dak's a very intense guy. He doesn't like not playing. So they're having to hold him back for his own good.
You needed to see that to know? Well, I mean, I know he doesn't conduct himself that way in the media.
That's the difference. The difference is I knew that Dak wanted to be out there. I knew that Dak was a really, really impressive competitor. What I saw in that was that he is intense. Like, he's very intense, and he doesn't take too kindly to people not giving him the opportunity to get on the field. And so that was the part that was I think, a revelation for me because that's not who he is off the field, right?
You got to be a little bit of an a-hole to be great at that.
Right.
I mean, to be great at anything, really, probably, but especially
Definitely
quarterback in the NFL. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the backup quarterbacks. Nick, you wrote an interesting article, and Garrett Gilbert, in that game, he was 7 of 16, a 44% completion percentage. He had 80 yards passing. His rating was 59.4. Not a great statistical day for him, but all that being said, and I know you wrote the article, tell me what the point of your article and what you're thinking right now at the backup quarterback position.
If they're always going to keep looking for everything, it doesn't matter if it was 158.3 was the rating. They're going to always look to see if there's something better, and they're going to continue to do that, and they're going to continue to look at the waiver wire. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of options that are better than what they have. So I feel like he's going to be the backup, and I thought he played well in that game. I thought he was put in some very uncomfortable situations, and I thought he did a really nice job handling himself there. He didn't get a lot of help. You expect your center to get the ball back to you. In two instances that he didn't, he still managed to kind of salvage it and make a play, and Army crawled here and got up and threw it and all that, and then he steps in the pocket on another play and throws it over the middle to Michael Gallup, and Gallup missed the ball. He catches that ball like he should, and they're in a much different situation in that drive. I think he can get it down to probably the 10-yard line or so. We'll see what happens there. I thought he did a nice job there, and I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of other options there when it's time to change it out. They're giving him the chance to win the job, and I think he's going to do that.
I think he already has. Remember, he's not going to lose it to somebody that's on this team. And he's not. He's not going to.
No, I agree with you. I was laughing because I don't even think that's close.
It's not.
I don't know about other guys out there, but I don't think that's even close.
Cooper Rush he's looked all right. I think there's a clear difference in arm talent when he's out there. Like if he's got to throw it outside the numbers, it doesn't look great in my opinion. Just in terms of getting it there with the speed and accuracy that it needs.
Yeah, I want to throw one more thing in there too. And I wrote this that I don't care who you are in the league. I don't care if you've won Super Bowls, Pro Bowls, whatever. You're not making a better throw to Cedric Wilson on the right side of
that. Was a dime.
You're not going to. That is in his arsenal. We know that. He'd made a throw like that in his first start to Amari Cooper against Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. He can do that. And so, he reminds me a little bit of Jason Garrett in the way, even though Garrett, he's a lot taller and he's got a better arm. But as far as, good deep ball touch, will stay ready, very smart, understands what he's doing. That's kind of what you want out of a backup.
Yep.
I think more than anything, he just looks comfortable, and that's the best thing you can ask for, probably. Yeah, and it was the play we talked about earlier that some were calling a drop by Noah Brown. Like, to get that ball off the feet, like off the carpet, maneuver around all the garbage, and still get an accurate throw off. It was very impressive. It was an incompletion, and I thought it was probably the most impressive play of his night.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, he is leaps and bounds better than the other two guys on this team. And, I keep saying his name, but there's no interest in Blake Bortles, clearly, or else something would have happened by now because he's just sitting out there. Yep. He might even be back in Green Bay soon because Jordan Love's hurt. So I don't think there's anybody available right now that they like more. And when you talk about quarterbacks, people bring up the situation in Chicago, but it's hard for me to imagine them trading for a salary like that. Maybe if one of those guys gets released, maybe. But if I had to bet on it, I would say Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah. I look at a backup quarterback, and to me, your backup quarterback just needs to, if everyone else around him can pick it up when you lose your starter, they give you a chance to win. And that's what would have to happen. You got all this talent on this offense. They'd have to step up. And I think if you would have given him the two starting tackles in the game that he played last year, I think that may have ended up being a different game. I mean, I thought he played a decent game for what the situation he was placed in. So, yeah, I think I've seen enough to where I feel like he can be a solid backup for you. And what you have to do is, again, if Dak goes down, everybody else is going to have to play better in order to make sure that you have even a chance. But I think if everybody else can play better, then I think he'll give you a chance.
Maybe. I don't know. I still think this is not a good backup quarterback situation. Like you think again, team. The Saints have.
How many teams have those?
No, and it's only 5 or 6 that ever feel good about it. It's either if you have a first round pick that's not starting yet, like the Packers or maybe the Bears. 49ers, or if you luck into an amazing situation like the Cowboys did with Andy last year, or the Saints had Teddy Bridgewater when he was trying to resurrect his career. Like, you need good fortune to have that situation. That being said, I don't think the Cowboys have it right now. I mean, Garrett Gilbert's fine. He's definitely better than what's available. It's not. I don't feel great about this situation, but given that they don't seem likely to do anything about it, I feel okay.
Well, it's short-sighted too for any fan to think that something's not going to give when you give a guy $40 million a year at that position. You have to give something, and you're banking on him to be great. You're banking on him to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best. That's what they're hoping for. That's what they paid him to do. So you can't really. You just don't have a lot of money and resources to do anything other than that. And they're hoping to, like Dave said, luck into it. A guy that's been around 7 years and he's got 3 starts. I mean, but hopefully the experience of being around in different systems will get him ready to play.
Yep. All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, I want to talk about the center position. The Cowboys are not calling it a competition, but we saw Connor Williams start at center in this last game, and I want to ask these guys if they think it's a competition or if they think it's just a situation where they're just trying to get their backup ready. We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium this season. A limited number of single-game standing room only tickets are on sale now. Get yours today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets. There we go.
Welcome back. Final
that.
segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Hey, real quick, I don't know if y'all were listening. Do y'all ever listen to Hanging with the Boys?
Not really, to be honest with you.
Sure.
That's not a shot at any of our colleagues. Like, I don't really.
Well, they were taking shots at us this morning, so I
were
just
they
didn't
really?
know. And it got so bad to where I literally walked down and got on the air.
Are you serious? I can't tell if you're kidding.
No,
or not.
I'm very serious.
Are they mad that they weren't at training camp?
No,
I mean,
they took it personal that I called them out and said they weren't a better show than us.
Oh.
And so they're now like they've launched this war against the break where they're going to just show the break that they are the better show. I was like, well, the numbers will prove it, so let's see where you go with this.
I mean, okay. It's like practice squad chirping at QB1.
Right.
I mean, okay.
It's like when the little kid runs up to you and you just kind of hold him like,
that's like,
really, young man?
During training camp,
I can't believe Kurt would talk like that.
Well, Kurt was the only one who wasn't there. He probably would have talked some sense into him, like, y'all might want to tone this down a little bit.
Kelvin Joseph, like he kind of made headlines for talking about no-fly zone, airplane mode, and all that. Somebody asked Dak about it, and he was like, yeah, I don't think he's gotten a chance to go against me and my guys, so, maybe he should do that before he runs his mouth, more or less. I mean, I'm paraphrasing.
Basically.
But yeah. Same energy.
I just didn't know if you guys heard that this morning.
Well, you started it.
Well, I did, but I mean, it was just, it was just interesting to me that they had something to say. But
matter of fact, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what that all means as we get into the season.
Competition brings out the best in everybody.
I like competition.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
I got no problem with competition whatsoever. I told them they should listen in to the break more often. Maybe they'll get some pointers. All right, let's get back in. We do need to talk about the offensive line, particularly the interior part of the offensive line. This last game, Connor Williams started at center. And I keep seeing a lot of media guys that are talking about this, and they're like, Cowboys keep saying this is not a competition. But this certainly looks like a competition. And as I was watching, I was thinking to myself, okay, so basically what they want me to believe is that the starting center, who is only in his second year and didn't even start all of last year, is so good that they're like, we got to take all these snaps and give them to the backup because we got to get him ready, rather than making sure the starter is ready. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. You guys make sense for me.
I actually
can't.
Well, I'll try.
Okay.
I don't think it's a competition. And Connor's showing you that himself. I mean, 4 bad snaps in maybe 20 preseason opportunity. I mean, that ain't good.
But you don't think that they should be giving those snaps? I would think
the starting
I would
quarterback hasn't played yet. Like, I don't care what Biotish does with Garrett Gilbert.
I care less about. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I will make you.
I care about the snap just as much as I care about what happens after the snap.
I'm going to lose my Jalen Smith bet to you already. So
I'm going to lose the Bohanna bet. So we're going to be even.
Well, all right. Let's make a rubber bet.
Okay.
Let's make a rubber match bet right now. If Dak plays against Houston, Biotish will be the center. I'm calling
that's
that.
also coming off a game where, as you just said, Connor had 2 snaps.
But here's the thing, and here's what makes it make even less sense. It's not a competition that they're like, Connor might be better than Tyler. Mm-hmm. It is a, holy crap, Connor's never played center in a game. We got to get him out there.
And we don't have another backup.
Exactly. Which, I mean, it takes you all. We've been talking about.
Huh?
Can't get him.
I mean, the Giants technically have his rights. He retired.
Oh yeah.
He's on. I mean, if he comes
and
back,
if you think that's a coincidence, you should think again. Seriously. That's next level stuff. But I think, from what I was told, that there's a reason why that happened. So
maybe they should have signed him.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done it themselves.
This is, in a lot of instances, we don't know as much as they do, but it goes back to the Zach Martin fantasy football tackle thing.
It still pisses you off.
It always will. Don't, to quote my father, don't pee down my leg and tell me it's raining. Like, I'm not stupid.
There.
And it's the same thing, like, all spring, we're like, there's not really another center on this team. Kind of weird, huh? No, that's not a big deal. They get to training camp. They're like, oh, I want to say the S word so bad, but I'm not going to. Oh, crap. Nobody else here really does this. And now we're just trying to piece it together as we go, and not even with the guy that played center in college when there are 2 on the team that did that.
Well, but
like,
let me ask you
McGovern did this for a year, and Farniak's done it in spot roles. And they were like, no, Connor Williams.
Is a backup center a player that, I don't know, I wouldn't say fairly easy, but someone that you think you might be able to get once the rosters are cut?
That I don't know the answer to.
Here's another part of it, too, that everyone keeps saying, well, if he can be your backup center, it saves your roster spot and all that game day roster spot. Well, unless they've changed it back, I thought the rules were now you have to have 8 guys active anyways on the line. You have to have 8 linemen. So having this guy, that ain't going to do a lot. I think that, like, you're both right. I think now, looking at it, I mean, I thought Tyler Biotish helped himself by not doing anything. I think Connor but I do think you cannot convince me that if Connor Williams would have gone out there, graded out well, no issues with snaps and all that, you can't tell me that they're not thinking, you know what, he may be our center, and maybe McGovern needs to play left guard. I still think that they're trying to figure it all out because I don't care who's taking the snaps at quarterback. Biotish needs work.
Yeah.
So that the whole
That's
thing's
the part
tricky.
that's baffling to me.
Don't get me
needs
wrong.
work.
Don't get me wrong. It is weird. It's very weird. But again, going back to my mediocre career as a student, it reminds me of like the night before the project is due, and I'm like, man, I could have been so much. This could have been so much better if I'd started 2 weeks ago instead of tonight. I have absolute faith that Connor Williams could become a solid center in time. Why did they wait until July 25th? Like, why wasn't he doing this all through the spring? I don't understand.
It's going to piss you off if he comes back next year on another team and he's their starting center.
I wouldn't say it pisses me off,
but it certainly will be curious.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely will look at it and say, what happened here? Like we miss it.
Like, does anyone like seeing Beasley on the top 100 list? Yeah. Like, even though
is he on it?
Yeah, he was on it.
I mean,
like 90 something.
Arguably the best slot in the league.
He had a really good year last year. It doesn't shock me.
Better than Tyron Smith. I mean, that kind of
no. I mean, the order is
that's why
ridiculous.
the list is weird. But I don't even know what I was saying about Connor Williams. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. You said something. What were you saying about?
I just don't understand why they waited until training camp to start this. Like, I didn't see Connor do this. He did do quarterback school during OTAs, which is 20 minutes with the quarterbacks. But like, he never played center in a team setting in the spring, and that was 8 practices. Which, how many did they have out there? 13. Yeah. So
I asked
you do
him
the math
after the game. I did ask him. What's going on, kind of? You're like, is this maybe you're competing for a starting job? He was like, I'll do whatever they ask me to do, but from what I've been told, this is just for emergencies. So
it's gonna be a hell of an emergency.
Well, again, maybe that's a good sign that they feel great about where Tyler Biotish is, that he doesn't need those reps. Like, maybe that's what it is. Who knows? I'm not in the meeting rooms, but it just seems a little weird to me that a guy that's in his second year doesn't need more snaps in the preseason to get himself ready.
I think it's a case of priorities, right? Like, Tyler does need work, but Tyler's played center for a long time, won the Remington Trophy in college.
But your expectation is that he's going to be the starter and hopefully play 16 games. I would think that's the priority. The backup becomes the second priority.
Priority. If you feel 75% sure about your starter and 20% sure about your backup at a job, the only other job in football where you hold the football every snap, I see the logic. It's weird. I'm not saying it's not weird, but I'm trying to piece that together. Like, Connor needs the work way more than Tyler, even though Tyler also needs work.
But they could have done both, because what Connor needs is he needs to snap the football back to someone. And it doesn't really matter who he's playing against.
That could be in the fourth quarter.
That could be in the preseason. Fourth quarter, third quarter.
But you also don't want to put your starting left guard out there in the fourth quarter of a game against scrubs that are trying to make
It's also part of the whole thing. When your starting left guard is also your backup center, he's going to have to, because he's got to get those reps, because you want the first team guy to get the first team reps.
Are we giving McGovern a pass?
In what way?
That he's a third round pick and he really hasn't done anything, and he's not factoring in as a starter, and they're thinking.
So at this point, you don't think he's factoring as a starter?
Well, I mean, he isn't. He isn't starting.
Yeah, right.
You know, Brandon Knight gets some work in there too at guard, and I mean they're trying to figure this whole thing out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought with a second round grade and they drafted him in the third round, I thought at some point he would be a guy that would just kind of be starting.
Yeah. I will give him the credit of pointing out that he did come in and play the last 6 weeks of last season and was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Wasn't awful. Like, so he's done more than nothing.
And maybe that's what they're trying to do. Like, deep down, maybe they're like, let's try him at center, Connor Williams at center. And if it works, then McGovern will be there. So they're trying to get their 5 best guys, but I don't think
I don't think
you can do it.
The way that they build the McGovern pick when it happened as this blinking red light that nobody could ignore, I mean, it hasn't lived up to that level of the hype. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think what they're probably, or at least what the signs look like to me, is maybe they think McGovern is a better guard than Tyler Biotish is a center. The problem is they can't get Connor to be a better center than Biotish, which blows up the whole thing.
Maybe they should have started working him at center before 3 weeks ago.
And I asked you guys this during the break. I wonder how he played. Because it's real easy to see bad snap, and go, well, he was awful, because that is very problematic.
Big part of the job.
But is he Is he picking up the blitz? Is he understanding things? Is he recognizing, the alignments and all that stuff? And does he do, snap it and do a nice job?
Is he getting to the second level on run plays?
But
there's a lot of things involved.
NFL Game Pass, maybe help us out with that. Right. Not trying to grade TV copy, if you catch my drift.
Well, I said, so what happened on the second one, the one that, went to the ground first? And he was like, it hit my cheek. They basically snapped it into his ass. I mean, that's basically what happened. And that's the play that I thought Garrett Gilbert did. He jumped on it and said, all right, no one's touched me. He rolls and gets up and throws. If he would have made that play, if he would have made
you got to think, it's got to be, to make that adjustment, for, any of the offensive line spots are hard. But then, getting the snap off and having it be accurate and going where it's supposed to go, knowing that as you do it, some 320-pound mofo is going to crash right into your face. That sounds really difficult.
I'll say this about McCarthy. I like the way he calls, or they call games, and whether it be Kellen, but I like the way he manages these preseason games. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to see the punt team go out and see if the punter can get the ball to the 10 on 4th and 9 and punt it like you normally would. We're going for it. 4th and 12, we're going for it. We're going to try. I'd rather see this than just manage the game.
Can you pick up a 4th and 12 when you need to pick up a 4th and 12?
And I think that goes to a guy that's coached for 12 years. He can turn it on, turn it off. He doesn't have to practice. This is how you do things. This is what the chart says to do and all that stuff. No, we're just going to play. I want my guys to go out there and try to convert.
I always say I think coaches make way too many decisions based on how defensible it'll be later, Mm-hmm. Am I going to get killed for doing this, or should I just do the smart football thing that people have done for decades? I worry about that less with McCarthy. Mm-hmm. And that's not always going to work. And that's fine, but I appreciate that he doesn't seem that worried about it.
There was a play that I liked that it probably would be overlooked, I think, by many. But I'm always one of my pet peeves is just when the offensive coordinator just plays it play to play and doesn't think about 2 or 3 plays ahead. And when they scored the touchdown, it was 3rd and 6 from the 9, and they ran a draw up the middle to Knox, I think, Brendan Knox, and he got a first down all the way to the 1. But you're not expecting a first down. You're expecting 3 yards, 4 yards, whatever. But it could open up what they do on 4th down. I really like that call. That showed me Kellen was thinking 2 plays ahead now. And if you get the first, even better. And they did, and they scored and all that stuff. But that's what I want to see out of your offensive coordinators. Go down there and say, all right, what are we doing here? Is this 4 down? And it clearly was 4 down territory for them, so they knew that. So that was nice to see a touchdown. For once this season.
We've spent most of the show talking about the offense. Real quick, I want to give each of you guys an opportunity to give me one defensive player from the game that stood out to you. I'll start first with you, Dave.
Oh, Dave's got it.
Israel Mcewen. Oh, you're gonna. I'll give you Jabril. Is that who you were gonna take?
He's played great.
He has.
Jabril Cox is great. Go ahead though. I want to hear what Israel.
I'm really impressed by him. I was talking about this on Twitter. He played cornerback in college. That's the joke we always reference. He's like, you're gonna get the best corner in the draft. Oops, no, you're not. That's not your position. And he played some safety in college, but it's not his primary position. He makes the move. He is physical. He made a great tackle of the running back in the flat to stop him on a 3rd down. He seems like he's got great instincts. He's in position. He's at practice in Oxnard. He's jumping in front of passes. He's reading routes. I'm sure it's not perfect, obviously, but he flashes, and he's a willing tackler. Like I said, it seems like he knows where he's supposed to be. He's not quite on that Micah Parsons level, obviously, because he's not a top 10 pick, but he seems like he's where the ball is, and that's a good thing. And it's fascinating to me because it's going to be tricky to find a place for him, to be blunt about it, because you got, I would assume Casey and Hooker are both going to make the team. Dono's going to make the team. Then you've got Jaron Kearse and Darian Thompson, who Darian didn't play well at safety, but that's not the point. It's the eternal battle between the special teams coach and Darian Thompson is one of the 2 or 3 best special teamers on this team. Jaron Kearse has a special teams reputation as well. So now it's, the front office probably favors the draft pick, and the coaching staff probably favors these veterans who are versatile, and that's an interesting that's an interesting conversation. But Israel Mcewen is doing everything he can to make them want to side with him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Stephen Jones. He wasn't going to pronounce his name, but he did say it to me the other day on an interview that he really liked what Israel is doing out there and just loves the matchup that he can do covering tight ends. I have a couple. I mean, I think Dorrance Armstrong is. I mean,
he is having a phenomenal camp.
He's been outstanding.
Game.
He's been outstanding, and we all can see that. And then I lost my other guy. I think I might have stole this point from Dave at one point during a show, but we did talk about once the pads come on and once we start playing games, you're going to see how physical Keanu Neal is. We're not seeing it as much early in practice, but once you really start getting the type of play that he's used to, he's going to start to show out more, and I think that he's doing that. I think not only did he force a fumble, he had a really nice stop on third down, short of the line of scrimmage. He did it at the end of camp too with a pick like that. I think he's finding his role in the nickel, and I still think it would be a vanilla defense of what Dan Quinn's going to how they're going to utilize him, because he's never played him at linebacker before. So it'll be interesting to see. I think though he's starting to kind of come on here, so that's a good thing.
I'll throw this out there too, because we mentioned Jabril Cox, which he looks really good. Obviously, he's getting the opportunity in games. He's making the most of it. He's led the team in tackles both preseason games. I care a lot less about the plays that he makes on defense. Mm-hmm. He made a nice tackle on a kickoff return that it might not have saved a touchdown, but I think the guy got to the 35. He was going across midfield for sure. And Cox just knifed into his lane and brought him down. And that's what I care about, because he could be the biggest steal in the entire draft. He's not getting on the field on defense unless something terrible happens. I mean, there's just too many bodies in front of him.
And when you guys talk about earlier, you're talking about those big bodies that are now out injured. Guy like him becomes very, very important because he's a big body that can hopefully play special teams for him.
Before I started doing this job, that's what you need to look for. Like, if I'm talking to somebody who's trying to analyze these preseason games, a guy like Jabril Cox showing that he can make plays like that on special teams is huge. He's going to make the team regardless, but you see him doing stuff like that, now you're like, okay, this guy can get a jersey on game day. He can do this, that, and the other. So that was really encouraging.
His answer about it when he was asked about playing special teams, he was like, "That's what I need to own that part of the game. That's it, all that is. This doesn't sound like a rookie." He said, "Special teams is a one-on-one battle. There's one guy that's going to block me. If I can beat him, I can go make the play." And it's like, I'm not gonna be blocked. And you're starting to see that, and that's a great mentality, especially for a guy that was at North Dakota State. He probably wasn't playing a lot of special teams there, and then when he went to LSU, I doubt he was playing a ton. But he comes here and understands that role and embraces it and really kind of relishes it. That's how you make the team, and as Dave said, that's how you get on the field for game day.
It's super encouraging too, because he's behind Micah, Leighton, Jalen, and Keanu Neal. Like, where are the defensive snaps coming from? And so, I think a lot of people, and honestly, I was kind of discouraged myself the first 2 weeks of practice. Like, this guy hasn't done anything. What's going on? Mm-hmm. But what do you do with your opportunity? He gets them in these games, and he's putting good-looking tape out there, in my opinion, that's really fun for him, for a guy that, there's not a lot of opportunities in practice.
That's a wrap. We will be back on Wednesday, and make sure you come out tonight if you're in town to Cowboys night here at Ford Center at the Star. And if not, then make sure you check it out online. We'll have it streaming on all of our different platforms. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?